Most people dream of success, but only a few ever touch it. Today, I'll tell you a story that reveals why 99% fail and how the 1% rise above all. Long ago, when the world was still young and men trusted their courage more than their comfort, there was a quiet village at the edge of a vast mountain range. In that village lived two childhood friends, Arif and Rafiq. Both were dreamers, but their dreams were different. Arif believed that greatness came through patience and endurance. He would wake up before dawn, work hard in the fields, and still find time to learn from travelers passing through the village. Rafiq, on the other hand, was clever and charming, but he always looked for shortcuts, the easiest way to get what he wanted. One evening, a group of travelers stopped by the village and told a tale that would change their lives. They spoke of a hidden treasure buried deep beyond the Black Hills, guarded by trials and dangers, but enough to make a man richer than a king. The next morning, both friends decided to seek it. "We'll find it together," said Rafiq, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Arif smiled. "Yes, but remember, the real treasure might be more than gold." They packed food, water, and a few tools and began their journey. The first day was easy, the path was clear, the weather was kind, and their hearts were full of hope. They laughed, sang songs, and spoke of the lives they would live after finding the treasure. But on the second day, the path became steeper, the air grew colder, and the forest grew darker. Strange sounds echoed from the woods, and their supplies started to run low. By the third day, Rafiq's enthusiasm began to fade. His feet blistered, his back hurt, and his stomach growled with hunger. He sat on a rock, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Arif, this is madness. We don't even know if the treasure is real. What if it's just a story?" Arif looked at him calmly and replied, "Maybe it is, but even if it's a story, I will finish it. I want to know how it ends." Rafiq frowned. "You're chasing shadows. Let's go back before we lose everything." But Arif only tightened the straps of his bag. "I will go ahead," he said softly. "You can return if you wish." And so, they parted. Arif continued alone, deeper into the mountains. The nights were cruel. Cold winds howled through the cliffs, and his fire barely stayed alive. Sometimes he thought of Rafiq's words, "What if it's not real?" But each time he looked at the stars and whispered to himself, "Even if the treasure doesn't exist, I will not let this journey break me." Days turned to weeks. His clothes tore, his food ran out, and his body grew weak, yet his spirit refused to surrender. One evening, he reached a valley filled with thorny bushes. His legs bled as he crawled through, each step testing his will. At the end of the valley stood an enormous stone gate, covered in moss and ancient carvings. Above it, written in faded letters, were the words, "For those who never turn back." Arif pushed open the gate, his hands trembling. Behind it, he found a path leading to a waterfall, shining under the golden light of the setting sun. It was the most beautiful sight he had ever seen. He walked closer, expecting to find chests of gold or jewels hidden beneath the water. But there was nothing, only a pool of clear, still water reflecting his tired face. For a moment, he felt disappointed. Then, as he knelt beside the pool, he noticed something carved on the stone below the surface. He brushed the water aside and read the words, "The treasure you seek is the man you become." Arif froze. Suddenly, everything made sense. The pain, the loneliness, the struggle. He realized that the treasure wasn't hidden gold. It was the strength, wisdom, and courage he had earned through his journey. He laughed softly. tears mixing with the waterfall spray. All the hardship, all the doubt, it was worth it. He had become the kind of man who doesn't quit, no matter how hard the path becomes. When he returned to the village, everyone was shocked. His clothes were torn, his face darkened by the sun, but his eyes burned with a quiet fire. Rafiq rushed to him and asked, "Did you find the treasure?" Arif smiled. "Yes, I did, but not the kind you can spend, the kind you can live by." The 99% fail not because the path is hard, but because they stop walking when it gets hard. The 1% keep going when no one's watching, when it hurts, when it seems hopeless. Success isn't found. It's earned through perseverance, discipline, and belief. If this story moved you, then you're already part of the 1%. Subscribe to this channel because every story here will strengthen your mindset and your spirit. Stay inspired and keep walking your path, no matter how steep it gets.